Hey everybody, this is Sierra from the Local History and Genealogy Department. We are going to be talking today about researching your African American ancestors using popular genealogy databases and newspapers. I will give everybody a couple of minutes here to join the video and we will get started. So just hang on for a second. All right. If you are just joining us, we are going to be talking about some research tips and strategies for researching your African American ancestors. I just wanted to remind everyone that Winter Reads is still happening. So if you haven't participated, there's still time to sign up and participate. All right. So we'll get started here. So if you're just a beginner and you're starting your genealogy research, we'll go over a couple strategies and tips for that first. So the best thing to do is start with what you know and work your way back. And that means writing down a, kind of like a family tree or a group sheet and basically going through and writing down what you know about your family. So making notes about relatives, if they were married, their spouses, the names of their children, if they had any, like if there was multiple marriages or divorces. And you'll also want to include things like birth dates, marriage dates, death dates, anything that can help you kind of, document in a timeline the history of your family. A good thing to remember is to write down when things happened very specifically. So make sure you write down like events like city, county, state if you can. If you don't know a lot about your family and you're finding that you don't have a lot of details, it's a good time to start talking to relatives, but also friends of your family and, finding out more about the family and where they, maybe if they moved around, where they came from, or if they, what schools they went to, what churches they attended. So you just kind of want to start documenting the family and making kind of like a timeline. I always talk about timelines because I think they're really helpful and important. They can really help you get started with your genealogy and kind of make sense of who, what, where, when, and why. Another important thing when you get started is to make sure that if you have a Kenton County Public Library card, that it's active, because a lot of these research databases that I'm going to talk about today, you can research from home right now with your card. And so that's a really great benefit of using your card. And if at any point during this you have any questions that you'd want to ask, you can feel free to leave me a comment. I can see the comments and I will reply with any of your questions. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about today are some of the popular research collections that you can use. One of them is Ancestry Library Edition. So right now with your Kenton County Public Library card, you can use Ancestry Library Edition from home for free, which is super awesome. You can do that through March 31st, so take advantage of that. To get to the Ancestry Library Edition link, you need to go to our website and click on go to www.kentonlibrary.org/genealogy. Click on Research Tools, and then on that page is going to take you to the Ancestry Library Edition link. And from there, you'll enter your library card, and you can have access to Ancestry at home. So what I really want to focus on with Ancestry is that, yes, they have lots of different things you can research on Ancestry. They have military records, city directories, newspapers. There's all kinds of collections on here. But what I think is really important when you're doing research is the census records, because this is going to help you document the family going further back in time. So the first census that you can look at is the 1940 census. That census will give you an idea of more names, birth dates, birth locations, where the family was living in 1940. And basically, it's going to help you basically follow your ancestors backwards. So you want to be able to move back into your family history. So starting with the censuses is a good way to do that, because you'll go back every 10 years. Just keep in mind that the 1890 census was burned in a fire, and sometimes you can't go back and research your direct ancestors. You kind of get stuck, and that happens. So when that does happen, you want to look for siblings and cousins in census records. So sometimes you can find that, well, I can't find my direct line, but I just found that, their brother was living in the same town, and that's also where their mother was living. So sometimes that helps you get further back a generation by looking at siblings and cousins. So take advantage of the censuses and really go through and look for details. Another collection that is on Ancestry that's really helpful is when you get to 1870 and you're trying to go back to 1860. This can be a really difficult time period for African American research, especially because a lot of enslaved people were not listed in the 1860s census. Because they were considered property. And so the federal slave schedules for 1850 and 60 sometimes are the only way that you might be able to locate a family after 1870 or before 1870. So you want to look at those schedules and see, like, look at the family in 1870 and see if maybe in 1860 in that schedule there's a makeup of that family that's similar in that area. The only bad thing about the 1850 and 60 slave schedules is that they don't list the individual names of each slave. They only list a description of their age, gender, and color. And they also list the name of the slave owner. That might be a clue, because you might see in 1870 they're living next to a particular white family. So in 1860, look for that white family in these schedules and see if they are the makeup of the family is in that schedule. And I kind of given you an example here of what the 1860 slave schedule looks like. So you'll see the name of the slave owner, and then it'll tell you how many enslaved people they had. Unfortunately, like I said, it doesn't give you the names of them. They just gives you the age, the gender, and the color. But it does give you something to work with. If anybody has any questions about that, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll try to help, research that. If you're having trouble researching a family, before 1870, feel free to email us at history@kentlibrary.org. We are happy to take a look at it and see if we can help you get a generation back, or at least back into the 1860 census. Okay, another popular research collection. This one's found on Family Search, and that is the Freedmen's Bank Records and the Freedmen's Bureau Records. So this is a collection that was established in 1865 after the Civil War. So this collection is invaluable in that it's starting to document a lot of African Americans who are no longer enslaved. So it's going to help them establish. They need basically banking records. They need to be able to start a bank. They need to be able to enter into employment and labor contracts. They need to be able to establish marriages. It basically was a way to standardize records for people who didn't really have records prior to 1865 and the end of the Civil War. It also was a way to basically help the military personnel during the Civil War. There's a lot of different types of records that you can find in the Freedmen's Bureau records and the Freedmen's Bank records. One that I think the bank records and also the labor contracts and indentured and apprenticeship records are probably the two most popular types of records. The bank records are invaluable because it has banking history. A lot of times it lists spouses or children. It can tell you where they were from and where they might be trying to set up their new residency. It can tell you ages. You just want to go through that index on Family Search and search for the name of the person you're looking for. The labor contracts records, there are over 602,000 entries on Family Search for these records, and they cover most of the American South, and Kentucky included. And a lot of the records, as you browse through them, have to deal with newly freed African Americans entering into labor contracts. Some of these contracts are with their former owners, and you'll see that a lot of these contracts have families, multiple family members listed together. There are also a lot of minor children listed in these records. And a lot of times they are entering into basically an indentured labor contract with their former owners until they reach the age of 18. And then a lot of them will be given the clothing and $50 in money once they turn 18 and are allowed to be of their, they're an adult now, they have their own rights. So if you're looking for someone who may have been a minor between 1865 and 1870, go through those records and look and see if they're in there. And it's also important to look at the names of your Black ancestors, but also the names of the white owners, because they often are also indexed in these records. So take a look at those. They're really, really interesting records. Okay, another popular research collection that we have here at the library that you can use is the Chicago Defender newspaper. To access the Chicago Defender, you go through our website, kentonlibrary.org/genealogy. You want to click on research tools and then the Chicago Defender, and then you'll enter your library card number if you're at home. What's really great about the Chicago Defender is that it covers 1909 to 1975, and it also covered a lot of newspapers, like stories from all over the country and the South. So Kentucky being included in the South. And as you go through and search the database, it is keyword searchable. You can search for places. Like I did a search for Covington, Kentucky. I did a search for Kentucky. There were articles about everything from, kind of like daily life. So like someone was visiting someone on vacation. There was a great article here about the 35th annual commencement at William Grant High School. There's all kinds of news about cities all over Kentucky and also the South. And then there were also in there, I found this obituary for a teacher in Danville. And then as you get closer to the 60s and 70s, you get a lot of great articles about the civil rights movement in the country, but also articles about each particular state and what's happening in that state. So if you're doing research on the civil rights movement, the Chicago Defender is a great place to start because there are so many articles about the civil rights movement, not just in the United States, but also about Kentucky in particular. So if you're looking for primary sources about the civil rights movement, the Chicago Defender is a great database and newspaper collection for that. And if you have any questions about the Chicago Defender, like how to use it or search it, feel free to email us at history@kentonlibrary.org. We are here to help, and we are happy to help. Okay. One more thing. We are doing one-on-one genealogy research assistant appointments. So you can you can email us or you can call us, and we will do a over the phone 1 hour appointment, or we will do a online appointment through Microsoft Teams. And you can, just let us know what you're having trouble researching, and we can work with you for an hour and try to help you break down, an ancestor that maybe you're having trouble with or a family, and see if we can help you, look at a bunch of different resources. And you can kind of follow along on our computer screen if you do a virtual appointment. Or if it's over the phone, we'll just talk with you over the phone and we'll send you anything that we find in the mail. But I would really recommend, if you're having trouble getting started or if you've been doing research for a while, that you reach out to us and schedule an appointment. We're happy to help you with your research and help you find your ancestors. And always, if you have questions, you can email us at history@kentonlibrary.org. You can call us at 859-962-4070, or you can find us on the web at kentonlibrary.org/genealogy. But these are all great ways to use our genealogy resources. And like I said, if you have any questions about researching your African American ancestors, whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it for a while, we're happy to help. So please contact us. Thanks for joining me today.